Hey man, how you doing? It's Rashawn the Dude Dad coming to you with a little bit of unsolicited sports talk in the DeadRong podcast. This is not going to be a full podcast, so this is going to be podcast episode 6.5. That's what we're going to call it. So 6.5. Really, I just want to talk about the seeding for the playoffs in the NFL. Last night, the game between Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. I'd be lying if I say that anybody that isn't a Detroit fan wasn't rooting against Detroit and wanted Green Bay to win, because it was supposed to help everybody else gain ground, in particular the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. And who is it gonna benefit the most to have the number one seed? In my opinion, whether it's Detroit or Minnesota, it's the same thing, meaning that they're both dome teams. So if one of them get the number one seed, it doesn't matter who has to go to said place, whether it be in Minnesota or if it be in Detroit, because they're both dome teams. So who would it benefit the most? I believe the number one seed will benefit the Detroit Lions the best. Not saying that Jared Goff and the rest of the team aren't really that good in playing in conditions that are extremely cold, but at the same time, you do get accustomed to playing indoors with the heat, with the sound being magnified by the dome and it being within inside versus the sound that people make within the stadium rising. So if anything, it's twofold. I feel like the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles, not because the Eagles can't play in whatever weather. They're from Philadelphia. So whether it's cold, whether it's warm, they've played in all of those conditions. So I feel like the reason why I would benefit the Philadelphia Eagles is a no-brainer. You would want the Detroit Lions to have to come through y'all, come out into the cold. And then, like you said, we're going to see what you're made of. Are your guys going to be afraid to tackle? Are your guys going to be afraid to get hit? Put the blocks on people because it's so cold. And right now, Philadelphia, man, it's cold. Last night, it was cold. It's got wind outside. That within an hour, there was condensation on my car and it was frozen on the ground within like an hour and a half because of the wind chill. So that's how cold it is in Philadelphia. Not saying I could predict what's going to happen a month from now or whatever. You know what I mean? But who do I think is going to benefit for it? The Eagles will benefit because they'll have the Detroit Lions come out and have to play within the conditions of the world versus the Detroit Lions playing in a dome, which I think is a 50-50 chance if you're a good team. I don't know what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. They played a really good game last night. Their defense didn't hold up when they were supposed to, and I think this would have helped them get ground. But again, like I've been saying all year, man, the NFC North is probably going to have 3 out of their 4 teams all in the playoff hunt. Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, and the Detroit Lions. Now, out of everybody that's in the playoffs, because it's really a 4-team race, we're not going to say that there's really any other juggernauts that are out there that really have a legitimate chance to be the number one seed outside of the Detroit Lions, who are the number one seed right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, who have closed ground on them and I think will overcome them for the first seed, and then the Minnesota Vikings, who only have 2 losses just like the Philadelphia Eagles. But I don't believe in Sam Darnold. That's really what it is. Like I don't believe him. I don't believe him. Now Brian Flores and that defense, they're carrying the team. In my opinion, they're carrying the team, especially when he has some bonehead plays. But he has been playing in a good enough manner that he's not losing the game for them. But he's also not winning the games. He has won a couple, but they're not winning because of him. They're winning in spite of him, so to speak. With all due respect to Sam Darnold, but you know what I mean? We know he is what he is. He's a backup in this league. He's had his chances in New York. He was supposed to be the guy. In North Carolina, he was supposed to be the guy. He went to San Francisco. He got beat out by Brock Purdy. And then he had his chance in Minnesota when J.J. McCarthy went down, and he's been capitalizing on it. So maybe he gets paid. Maybe somebody else gives him another chance, like the Seattle Seahawks did with Geno Smith. But yeah, man, I think it's just a 4-pony race. It's going to be the Eagles. It's going to be the Vikings. It's going to be the Green Bay Packers if they don't really lose too many games, and the Detroit Lions. Now, I do think that Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they can upset somebody. They can shock somebody. They are the one team that beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. So they're able to do it at at, Ford Field. So that's how I see it. And like I said, man, Detroit, 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 the number one seed is going to benefit the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think it's going to benefit the Detroit Lions because of the weather conditions. I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to be able to put up a sufficient enough fight outside in the elements, whereas the Philadelphia Eagles, they're used to playing in that. So yeah, that's my take on that. Oh, it's crazy that with the NFC West, though, it's like it's still everybody's or anybody's game. 7 wins is the top seed in the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks, and they play the Cardinals this week. Kind of rooting for the Cardinals because that'll keep the Seattle Seahawks close enough so that the 49ers could at least have a chance. And I feel like anybody that gets in the playoff, they have a fight. They have a fighting chance. They have a puncher's chance. Maybe people get healthy on the defensive side and they could look better than what they did, because this year they have been looking terrible. People have been able to do whatever they wanted or want to the San Francisco 49ers, and they just don't look like the same team. And I really don't like to hear people talk about the Super Bowl effect and all that, because Kansas City Chiefs went to the Super Bowl multiple times, like in the last 4 or 5 years, and they're still making a run. They're not looking good, but they're still winning. They're still making it to the Super Bowl. They won last year, and they were supposed to be like in a rebuild or retool season. So that's that. In the AFC, it's crazy. You really cannot count the Kansas City Chiefs out as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But I truly believe that is the Buffalo Bills division and the conference entirely. For them to lose Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, they are a good team, but they seem to just not accept who they are as far as a run first team, and they're trying to like make Lamar Jackson be a pocket passer. And when someone has a natural ability, it's like Michael Vick, it's like Jalen Hurts, it's like all of these guys, Colin Kaepernick, and guys that were good, that I feel their natural disposition is to run at times, and that's what makes them excel in the college level and be good in the NFL level. It's an instinctual thing. Their natural instincts. So when you try to make someone go against their natural disposition, I think you kind of cripple them. You handicap them. And with Lamar, like he said at the end of the game against the Eagles, he was like, his mom was mad at him because he had running lanes, but he didn't run. He was trying to let the routes develop. And with a person as athletic, as fast, as dynamic as Lamar Jackson, man, you got to take off. If they play within who he is as a run heavy pass quarterback and feed the ball to Derrick Henry like they should be doing, I think they're virtually unbeatable unless you're coming firing on all cylinders, which Buffalo Bills have been. They just look good. They look like a team of destiny. I feel like that's how the Detroit Lions have been looking, but as of late, they have been looking very human. And the Eagles have been coming on. So I think with the defense for the Eagles and how they've been coming on, they're going to be a tough out. I don't think anybody could really beat them if they can get going in that first quarter. Their Achilles heel they haven't been able to put up points in the first quarter, and they're kind of slow starting, but their defense has been keeping them in the games. But when you play a game or a team like Detroit Lions, they're going to put you away early if you allow them to score early, and then you become a pass first team. With the Eagles and having Saquon Barkley, they have to run the ball. They have to feed him. They have to wear down the other team's defense. But that can't happen if you're down 2 scores, because the coaches and the coordinators, they start to panic, and now it's throw, and you become predictable. But if they can get it rolling, I think they will smash the Detroit Lions. They will smash the Minnesota Vikings. The only team that I think that can possibly beat them is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because until proven that they can beat the Buccaneers, I believe they can't beat the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have had their team or their number for 2 years now. And the Green Bay Packers, because the Green Bay Packers are hot. I feel like there's a bunch of young dogs. They're starting to get to know each other. A lot of guys have been thrown into the fire. They're starting this, they're either their first or second year, and they're growing together. And Jordan Love, he's developed into a very, very good quarterback and a stud in this league. So that's kind of my take on the whole playoff process. I think the AFC is largely going to be the Buffalo Bills for the losing, because no one jumps out except for you can't count the Chiefs out. Like I said, in the game with 3 minutes left and them down 4 points, I believe in Patrick Mahomes being able to go down there. He's like Tom Brady almost in respects to the AFC. You know, they went from the dominance of Tom Brady dominating the entire conference to now Patrick Mahomes kind of dominating the whole conference. So you got the Kansas City Chiefs that are always going to be a threat. Baltimore Ravens, if they play to their strong suit, I think the Chargers can make some noise. I think they're like a year out though. So I truly believe it's going to be the Buffalo Bills and either the Eagles or the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. And that's my take. And like I said, out of everybody who needs the number one seed, I think it's Detroit Lions. I say the Eagles, but I only say the Eagles because if the Detroit Lions or one of those dome teams have to come out to the cold weather, I think the Eagles are going to be the one who benefit from it the most. And the Buffalo Bills, they play in the frozen tundra. They could play wherever. It doesn't matter. Miami Dolphins can't do nothing to them. I don't really know how Justin Herbert's going to pan out today, but we all know that Patrick Mahomes could play in the cold because he's out there in the frigid time too. So again, man, it's just my thoughts on the seeding for the playoffs. And this is Rashawn the Doodad with episode 6.5. Cause it's not really a podcast, the entire thing, but I wanted to give you guys my thoughts while I had them in my brain, man. Appreciate it.